Hello and welcome to OnShape. This is an introductory tutorial to get you familiar with this platform. OnShape is a CAD program that is completely cloud-based, which means you don't have to download or install anything. I'm beginning after I have logged in and I am on my main screen. This is where all of my projects are organized, so I have some documents and folders already created. But we're going to just jump in and create a new document. And OnShape always asks you to name your document first. So I'm just going to call it intro. And that will take me to this main screen. Now, when you created your OnShape account, you probably came to a screen that asks you to specify your standard measurements, but you can change that, and I'm going to show you where you can do that. So up here on these three dots up here by my file name, 3 lines, I mean, you can come down here to workspace units, and this is where you can change it. So if you, for some reason, wanted to do something in inches, you can change it to that. I usually work in millimeters, but on occasion I'll have a project where I need to change it. So that is where you can change those specifications. Um, Here on our main screen, we start with our 3 planes, and you can build on any one of these planes. That basically means that you can build on the top as if you were looking down on the object that you're creating. You can build on the front as if you were facing forward toward the object that you're creating, or you can build on the side as if you're looking at the object from the side. Whatever way you choose, you do need to specify where you're going to build your first sketch. And I'll get to that in just a moment. But these 3 planes also correspond with the view cube up here in the upper right hand corner. The view cube really is just that. Um, it specifies how you're viewing your model or your workspace. So if I click on top, it's going to orient my workspace so that I am looking at the top. I can switch back to that previous view by clicking on the cube, the small cube, and selecting isometric. It'll take us back here. I can click right, and that will allow me to look straight on to the right side. Swing back again. I can click on the front. I can also click on this cube and just drag in the direction that I want. Actually, I'm 2-finger clicking. So I'm taking 2 fingers, putting them down on the touchpad or on my mouse and moving around. So I can also orient that way. I can also put my 2 fingers down on the trackpad or use my right mouse button to turn around like this. I often will look at something and move it around like this, but then I will click on the view cube, to get myself back straight on. That's a regular for me. In addition to that, I'm going to just take this back to the isometric view. In addition to that, over here on the left-hand side, as you build your model, the features that you create will be listed right over here. These names correspond with the different planes, but the features will be listed here. And then as you complete parts or work on parts, those will be built up here. And we'll get into that a little bit. Across the top, you have your tools. These are your feature tools. For the most part, you have to have a sketch first before you can use these tools. So the way OnShape works is you create a 2-dimensional sketch, and that button is right up here. You create a 2-dimensional sketch, and then you manipulate that sketch to make it 3D and to make adjustments to it. So that's how I'm going to start. I'm going to start with a sketch. I'm going to click on Create New Sketch. And the first thing it asks me is which plane. So do I want to sketch on the front plane or the right plane or the top plane? For this particular example, I think I'm going to choose the top plane. And I can rotate this around if it's a little easier to see. So I'm going to select this one right here. That's the top. You can see that I've selected the top plane. And then I'm also going to orient the view cube. So now that I've selected it, I want to be able to look straight on it. So I'm going to click the top of it. So I still have top selected as the plane, but I've also oriented it toward myself. I'm going to start out with just a simple corner rectangle. You can do corner, center point, or aligned rectangle. I'm going to do a corner rectangle, which basically means it's going to draw from that corner and out. So I'm just going to put my mouse down here in the center. You don't have to start in the center. That's just what I'm doing this time. I'm going to drag it out. So I clicked on the middle, drag, and then click again to release it. And you'll notice that these little dimension boxes pop up. I don't need to click on them. If I were to click again, it would start making another square. I don't want to start making another square. I just want to change this. So I'm going to make this 50 millimeters. And as soon as I hit enter, it enters that measurement for that distance, and then it gives me a box for the other dimension. So I'm going to go ahead and type that one in as well. So now I have a 50 by 50 cube. I usually name the parts that I create as I'm building something, especially if I have a lot of sketches. It helps to tell them apart over here in the feature list. So if I rotate, I'm doing my 2-finger click on my trackpad. I'm just using my trackpad right now. I would right click if I had a mouse. But you can see that this is just a 2-dimensional shape. Okay, there's no third dimension. But I can make it 3D very quickly. So I have my object selected. It'll turn this kind of yellowy orange color when it's selected. And I'm going to click this extrude button right up here, this first feature. And OnShape will automatically default to 25 millimeters. If I'm looking straight on, you can't really tell that it did anything. But if I move to the side, you can see that now this 2-dimensional shape I created is a 3-dimensional shape, and it's 25 millimeters deep. I can change that by dragging this arrow, or I can change the number here. So if I wanted to have a specific amount, like 13 millimeters, I could type that into that box. I usually name these parts as well. So I called that cube sketch. So I'm going to call this my cube extrude to name that feature. Okay, so there we go. That is my little sketch, or sketch plus extrude, that I've done. And I can do other things to that. I could create another sketch. I'm going to go ahead and back to the top view. All right, so I'm going to draw a circle right on the top. I'm going to select the top of this little box that I made. I'm going to select the circle, and I'm just going to put it right there in the middle. And I'm going to make that, I'm just going to keep, oh, I accidentally did that. Here's the undo button right here. All right, name that circle. All right, and then I want to select that circle and extrude it. I'm going to remove some of that material and turn to the side so you can see what I'm doing. And then I'm just going to call that circle extrude, and it's going to cut through. So I've just put a hole. So with the extrude feature, you can add something like we did with this initial shape, this little box, or you can remove. So I made that circle and I extruded going through it the other direction, and it removes. So that's how the extrude feature works. I'm just going to show you a couple of other features. Again, I'm not actually making anything. I'm just kind of showing you around the software, but I'm going to start with another sketch. And this time, actually, I'm going to just choose a different plane just so you kind of get an idea of what this looks like. I'm going to choose the front plane this time. This piece that I made is still over here, but I'm going to choose the front plane. I'm viewing it from the front, and I've selected the front plane. And I'm going to just draw a line. I'm going to do a nice straight line down here. And I'm going to click to let the line go, but I'm going to keep drawing lines. So the tool will stay active as I keep clicking. I'm going to make kind of what looks like an arrow. And I'm going to keep going up, and I'm going to bring it back to the end. Now, if I wanted to leave that shape, I could keep making lines. I can either hit escape, or I can just click on this line tool to turn it off. So there I've made another shape. We'll just call this, what is this? A half arrow kind of shape. So I've kind of got the shape of a half an arrow. It is a closed shape, which means that I can extrude it, or this time I'm going to choose a different tool. It's called Revolve. So I'm going to select Revolve. It tells me to select the object I want to revolve, which I already did. It's highlighted in orange. And then the next thing is to select the revolve axis. So I want it to revolve around this axis right here. So I'm going to select it. And it instantly spins it around. It's like we just went a 360-degree spin around. Kind of looks like a spinning top. So that's what the revolve tool does. Now I can change how far around I revolve. Move back to the front. If I want to go only one direction and then adjust, the degrees and how much it's going to spin around. Maybe I only want it to be a half circle, or something like that, so I can adjust those degrees. And then you can make other selections here, symmetric. So if you've got two sides and they're both going to come out an equal amount like that. So those are some things that you can do. I'm going to just switch this back to full, so it's the full 360. And if I were doing this for real, for a project, I would just probably do half arrow revolve to name that feature. So you can see over here, I'm naming features as I'm working so that they're really clear. And you'll notice, so these are two completely separate parts. I've got this part, and they're listed separately over here. So there's one part, there's the other part, and I could print them both independently. So I could go and just print this by going to export and select, I would give it a file name, select STL, binary, millimeter, fine, download, and then click export, and it would download the file for me to export that. So I could do either one or both of those objects. There are a lot of other features in OnShape, but I just wanted to give you an idea of how the program works. So those are just some basics to get you started.